I had to bring it on this page. A lot of my longtime viewers from my XDN Sports channel have made the patronage to this channel, XDN Wrestling, and I had to bring this. I had to bring this series. Bitter Bret Hart. The most bitter there was, the most bitter there is, the most bitter there will be. This is part one of a three-part series at this time. This might be a 10-part series, but let's start with three parts. This being part one. Hit the like button, subscribe to this channel. Stay tuned for this one. You know, on my XDN Sports channel, I've been uploading the classic bitter Bret Hart rants. Not my rants, but his rants. The most shameful one is right after Hogan passed away. He went on this tangent about Hogan. You know, Hogan, you stinking hyena. You didn't help anybody. You were greedy. You took from me. You bent me over. You ripped my singlet. You had your way with me. My dad Stu used to stretch me in the dungeon. And then you entered my dungeon. Like, oh, man. Bret Hart acts like Hogan dropped a leg on his wife. Maybe he did. Hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed to this channel, XDN Wrestling. If you want to support the channel, you can donate to the Cash App. It's $XDN wins. Or if you have a video request, you want me to talk about a certain topic, answer a question, what have you. You know, I'd like to do a Q&A one day, but I don't know. That might be in the future, but let's get to it. Now, I've gathered in this three-part series, you want to stay tuned to this series, I've gathered the greatest moments that highlighted Bret Hart's bitterness, which has no end. I mean, Hogan, Owens passing, you know, Vince, Triple H, video games. I mean, this Bischoff. Did I say Hogan? Dino Bravo. Didn't Dino Bravo get clapped up in like a narcotics deal gone awry? Ric Flair. Even Meltzer. I don't think people remember he had like a little feud with Meltzer in the mid 90s, but that's like some real like insider thing. But it never ends. You know, I think last year, 2025, he was burying Gunther and Sheamus or something like that. Goldberg, it never ends. El Dandy, all the things he said about the legendary worker, El Dandy. Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, did I say the Heartbreak Kid? Did I mention the Heartbreak Kid? Teddy Hart. Man, I might have to start doing Teddy Hart content. But let's go here. And I'll just read from my notes. Bret Hart's bitterness extends to several high-profile feuds and backstage betrayals that shaped his career. I don't know that I'd say feuds and betrayals shaped his career. I think his dedication to the craft of wrestling, I think his hard work, making every town, I think that shaped his career. But feuds and betrayals are part of the ending of his career, because few wrestlers had a more disastrous ending to their career than Bret the Hitman Hart, but he's still the bitter man Hart. Beyond the foundational tragedies, his intense real-life animosity targeted the biggest names in the wrestling industry. Now, let's just start here. I mentioned on XDN Sports, I just re-uploaded the Hulk Hogan burial after Hulk Hogan passed. Bret Hart has no shame and no bounds. He buried Hogan in his death and then went on some rant about Jake the Snake being a cokehead in '92. But Bret Hart contradicts himself, because when Vice TV did the Who Killed WCW, they promoted it with a clip of Bret Hart saying that he was using coke. So Bret Hart, you tear down Jake the Snake because he sniffed the powder, but then you admitted to doing the same thing. Because Bret Hart, he did steroids like Hogan did. He did the same. He was on the reefer. Kevin Nash and Scott Hall told stories where Bret Hart would be in hotels smoking, trying not to get caught. He smoked the reefer. He did the powder. It wasn't just Bulldog. Bret, Mr. Hitman, it's Davey, Bulldog. I'm sniffing this bullshit. Mr. Hitman, it's Davey Boy. We have a match tomorrow at SummerSlam. Wembley Stadium. Stadium. What? I gotta work on a better British accent. I gotta watch Austin Powers again. Mr. Heatman, we have a match at SummerSlam, but I can't do the match because I'm on the crack. I already got my drink. Yes, I'm going to carry that joke to this channel too. I can't do the Page and AEW joke, so I got to do something else. Drink coconut water. Oh, that tastes like Sunny in '96. Oh yeah, that's Tammy Sitch. Coconut water. All right. Let's start with Hulk Hogan. Let's continue from the burial. Hulk Hogan. Well, we're not going to go to his passing, I don't think, yet. The broken promises in Bret Hart's career revolving around Hulk Hogan. Now, in the early 90s, the World Wrestling Federation was still in the Hulkamania era. And at that time, Hogan was still big in 90, 91, that's what she said. But, when you get to 91, 92, 93, Andre is done, then he passes away. That 80s era was tailing off, the Hercules Hernandez, the whole giant steroid, action figure looking thing, it was fading out. But Hogan, still a big name, even by 92, 93. But around that time, steroid trial and people getting fired, Bulldog, Warrior, Sid quitting because of Warrior. Bret Hart was being positioned to be elevated. So, according to this, the broken promises of Hulk Hogan. Number one, the refusal. At WrestleMania 9, Hulk Hogan won the WWF title immediately after Bret Hart lost the belt to Yokozuna. The agreement afterwards, Vince McMahon, quote-unquote, promised Bret Hart that Hulk Hogan would drop the title back to him at SummerSlam 93. And do you think Hulk Hogan did that? No. Mr. Heatman, Hogan took your belt. The betrayal. Hulk Hogan refused to put Bret Hart over, claiming Bret Hart was not a credible heavyweight threat. Now, Hulk Hogan, whether or not that thinking was, right, wrong, whatever the case, Hulk Hogan was always of the mindset, in his entire wrestling career, especially when his big push happened in the 80s, he was always of the mindset he wanted to work with bigger guys, giants, because Hogan was going to slay the giant. So, he worked with Andre. He worked, even though Paul Orndorff wasn't like a 6'8", but Paul Orndorff, he had the physique and everything, and that was a major feud. But Hogan, he'd work with Andre. He'd work with Kamala, Warrior, Andre. He'd work with Earthquake, so on and so forth. Undertaker. So when he looked at Bret Hart, it's like, Bret, you're a midget to me, and you're a mid-carder, and when I was selling out every arena, you were opening up the show as a tag team wrestler with the Anvil. So I don't care what Vince says. I don't see you as a main eventer. I don't see you as someone worthy of me losing to. So I'm not going to do it. Now, of course, that's an insult to Bret Hart, because Bret Hart, he grew up in wrestling, old school Stampede wrestling, trained by his father. Few people have more respect for wrestling and the craft that it is than Bret the Hitman Hart. So when Bret Hart worked for years and years and years on the undercard to finally get to the main event, for the top guy to basically say, I don't want to lose to you, even though Vince McMahon promised it. And that's always been a fishy story, because Vince McMahon has always been a great manipulator. So another story is Vince McMahon told Bret, Hogan will lose to you, knowing that Hogan was not going to do that. And then Hogan didn't, and Hogan got about the company, and he lost to Yokozuna. And then he went to go shoot some horrible films for TBS or Disney or whatever the hell he did. And then he ends up in WCW. I'm sure we'll talk about that later. The insults after Hogan allegedly did not want to put over Bret Hart. Bret Hart went on to publicly label Hogan as a backstabbing, knife-wielding piece of shit. In the 90s, Bret Hart used to write a column for the Calgary Sun. And that's where he got a lot of his. You think Bret Hart being bitter and burying people started in the YouTube era? No, he was doing this in the '90s. In that Calgary Sun, he was burying WCW. He was burying a lot of wrestlers. I think he was burying Flair. Like this, he was doing this in the mid '90s. It's not new. He didn't wait till Montreal. Bret Hart was bitter before Montreal. That's the thing a lot of people you don't know, or you don't remember, or you don't realize. It wasn't Montreal that made him bitter. It wasn't Owens passing. No, Bret Hart was always this way. He grew up getting his ass stretched by his daddy. Pause. Hit the like button. The ongoing scorn. Hart, as years went on, all the way to his passing, would continue to blast Hulk Hogan's character and wrestling ability for decades. Now, that's just a little piece of Hogan. Now, when Bret and Hogan, when Hogan goes to WCW, what have you, and then WCW has its resurgence, Hall and Nash, NWO, Nitro, so on and so forth. Bret Hart, in '96, it was a whole thing of, is he going to leave the WWF, or is he going to go to WCW, or whatever the case is. And, they do the whole build up to WrestleMania 12. Bret Hart, he loses the belt to Shawn Michaels. So then Bret takes some time off. I think he did some cowboy film, or did Bret Hart ever do, he was doing some Western movie, which a Canadian wrestler doing a Western, right? But correct, one of you marks would know in the comments, didn't Bret Hart, was he ever on an episode of Texas Walker Ranger? I know Austin was. I want to say, was Sable? I don't know. A lot of the WWF wrestlers used to do the USA shows. Like, I think they had like La Femme Nikita, which I always hated. Oh my God. They used to promote that to death, man. And back in like '97, '98, like every 5 minutes, Michael Cole and JR, La Femme Nikita, La Femme, man, who want to watch this Give a damn about no big head mother named Nikita? Nikita Cola? I don't care about no one. Nikita Lyons is thick. Oh my God, Nikita. Where's my drink? Hold on. Nikita Lyons. Oh, still tastes like Sunny. Chris Candido would know, and Shawn Michaels would know, and Bret would know. Sandman would know. They said Sunny blew Sandman for pills on a rooftop, or was that Sabu? She blew either Sandman or Sunny in the ECW days. Sunny blew either Sandman or Sabu on a roof, and then blew one of them. She blew one of them on a roof, and then she blew another one in like a bathroom closet for pills. Something that I might have to make a video about this. How did New Jack never bang Sunny? It's like New Jack loved white women. Well, Sunny's a racist. She don't like black men. I guess if she wanted, she could have had Ahmed Johnson. You're going down. Do it down. Do it down. Ahmed Johnson, WWF Warzone promo. Oh yeah, this is about Bret Hart. So Bret Hart would blast Hogan, and then Bret Hart, he decides to sign a 20-year deal with the World Wrestling Federation in 1996. He comes back on TV. That's when they start his feud with Steve Austin, this young, budding, up and comer. Steve Austin was always great, man. Steve Austin, the same Steve Austin that you saw in 96, 97, 98, he was that way in 92, 93. WCW just didn't push him. It's just amazing. WCW had Austin, Foley, Undertaker, and Triple H, and saw nothing in them. And then those four are four of the five that ended up destroying them in the Monday Night Wars. It's amazing. WCW you had Austin. You had Michael Jordan and thought he was nothing. WCW releasing Steve Austin in 94 is the equivalent of Jordan getting cut by his high school team. You have Steve Austin, you have the Michael Jordan of wrestling, and you thought he had nothing to offer. And you wanted him to lose to Brutus the Barber Beefcake? You had Triple H, saw nothing in him. You had Undertaker, saw nothing in him. You had Mick Foley, saw nothing in him. You know what's funny? When The Rock got into wrestling, The Rock, another person that Bret Hart always liked, and Bret Hart always saw the potential in The Rock, and that's what also started the heat with him and Triple H, but that's another video another day. But if The Rock, when he got into wrestling, if he didn't go to WWF, let's say The Rock signed to WCW in 1995, 1996. You know who The Rock would have been in WCW? They would have made The Rock Prince Iaukea. The Rock would have been Prince Iaukea. They would have never let him speak. He would have been a Saturday night mid-carder losing to Brad Armstrong for 4 years. The Rock would have just been another guy. That's why in life it's important where you go, who you align yourself with, and getting with the right people. If you're around the wrong people, they will stifle you. You're around the right people, you can blossom. So it's a good thing The Rock, it was definitely good that, you know, he made sure it was WWF that he went to, not WCW, because he would have been a 6'4" Prince Iaukea. Anyway, but Bret Hart, he goes to WCW, you know, in 97 after the screw job. And then he kind of backed down on his comments against Hogan and certain people, just to then have a miserable mid-card run and then later go back to burying everyone in the company, including Hogan. And then all the way to Hogan's death, he talked bad about him and all these things. And then after he passed, he roasts him and rants on him and disrespects him even in his passing. So Bret Hart, now what's funny is you have a lot of Bret Hart marks on my XDM Sports channel. And a lot of them, oh, Bret, he deserves to be bitter. Bret, he's the greatest. Bret, I support him no matter what. And, you know, all that delusional picking and choosing who's allowed to be bitter. All that picking and that fan shit. But, and then people saying, well, look at it this way. XDN, look at it this way. He buried Hogan when he was alive. So he buried him when he was dead. So at least he's consistent. That's a way to look at it. Well, at least it's consistent. It is true, he is. But, you know, when someone passes away, how about you don't disrespect dead people? It don't matter if you hate it. It don't matter if they were the worst person ever. Someone's deceased, it's over. When someone passes, it's over. They can't hear, they can't feel, it's over. So just let that leave with them. But most you people, you're childish and that's that feminine bitchy shit. That's the thing females do. Well, I don't really care because I didn't like him when he was here, so I'm going to still talk, but shut up. Bitches do that. I might have to watch Wrestling with Shadows after this video. Speaking of females, Bret Hart had Sunny. Did you ever see Bret Hart's wife? You know, I have a running joke about Cornette's wife, but oh my God, that might be a video. Cornette's wife or Bret's wife? Oh. That might be the new, see, the Cornette's wife joke, that might be for XDN Sports. The joke on here might be, have you seen Bret Hart's wife? The one from Wrestling with Shadows? She looked like, Bret Hart's wife on Wrestling with Shadows, she looked like Michael Jackson's first baby mama, Debbie Rowe. The woman who gave birth to Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson. The best you could do is this bloated bitch named Debbie Rowe. You Michael Jackson. You could have got any female you wanted. He could have got Halle Berry. He could have got Sally Richardson. Everyone else did. He could have got Stacey Dash. Who's some more females from the 90s? He could have got Topanga. You know what? He did have Lisa Marie. So you leave Lisa Marie for that mother? Oh, what? Michael? What? Oh, whatever. But whatever. But anyway, Bret Hart. So that's his feud with Hogan. Now let's go here to the next section. Here's another never ender. His war of words with Ric Flair. Conrad, I'm drunk right now. The nature boy. I'm drunk. I'm gonna go to the bar and get me a tray of kamikazes. Ric Flair. The man is gonna die in a motel with a bottle of Ciroc. You telling me Ric Flair never was at a Diddy party? That tastes like Daphne Joy. Kind of a 50 Cent aftertaste too. Whew. But his war of words with Ric Flair. Now, The whole Bret Hart Ric Flair feud, I don't really understand the origin of it. Now, someone might say, well, when Flair was in WWF in '92, he lost the belt to Bret. Well, actually, I think that is where it's from. Let me go back. What am I saying? I believe the origin of Bret Hart's feud with Ric Flair. You know what? I might have to make a video on every feud Bret has. Let me not do all of them in one. Yeah, I might have to save this. You know what? I might have to extend this series. Yeah. The next episode is his feud with Ric Flair. I'm gonna leave it here. It's about 20 minutes. I think that's good. I'm gonna leave that here. So Bret Hart, the bitterness of Bret Hart. I gotta think of a nice title. Bitter Man. No. Bret the Bitter Man Hart. Episode 1. Hulk Hogan. No. The bitter history of Bret Hart. I got to think of something. If you have a good title, tell me a title. Now, you won't get any money from this video because I'm not going to give you none, but, I'm going to monetize off of it. But if you have a good title, Bret Hart, The Bitter Series. This is episode 1, Hulk Hogan. Yeah, Hulk Hogan. So, what are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on Bret Hart bearing? When someone's alive, you have your feud, but Bret's problem with Hogan was basically 1993. It will be 2000, he's still crying about Hogan. It's 2005, he's still crying about Hogan. He's going on off the record with Michael Landsberg for 10 years crying about Hogan. It's 2012, it's 2020, it's 2026. He still is crying about Hogan not dropping the belt to him in 93. This is what Scott Hall meant when he said Bret Hart is a mark for himself. Bret Hart is more upset about fake belts than his own brother passing, and we will touch on that in this series further. I'm up out of here. If you want to support the channel, you can donate to the Cash App as XDN Wins. If you want to suggest the next episode or another series, or you want me to make a video about a certain topic, you can donate to the Cash App, XDN Wins. Follow me on Instagram at XDN Online. All my links are in the description of this video. I'm up out of here, and that is it. Episode 2, The Nature Boy, Ric Flair.